here to explain core full stack. So it includes C#, .NET, ASP.NET, ASP.NET MVC, and ASP.NET MVC Core, SQL Server, Angular, okay, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Okay, so in this today's session, I'm going to explain the introduction part of .NET Core full stack. Okay, I think you people may aware what is full stack. Full stack is nothing but developing an application in two ways, front end and back end. So using .NET, how we are going to develop full stack application. Okay, so in this session, I'm going to cover C#.NET. Full course I'm going to explain and teach C#.NET, and don't bother about C#.NET. So you definitely will write a program in a good manner once the course is finished in 2 months or 55 or 60 days. Okay, and after that, I think remaining courses will be taken care by other people, or I may come and take up these classes. Okay, so what is C#.NET? I'm going to share my screen here. So basically, I'll say Notepad here first before I get into .NET Core, because the class is basically C#.NET introduction. Okay, so what is C#? If you look at the term C#.NET, right, it basically contains two words here. One is C# and second thing is .NET. So C# pronouncing as C#, okay, that means C language is coming up with enhanced features, and C# is having a syntax of C, C++, Java family. That's why we name it as C#. So C# is invented based on the syntax of C++, Java. If you are having awareness on C or C++ syntax, C# is very useful or very easy to write a program. Okay, and .NET is nothing but it doesn't have any official abbreviation. Basically, if you search in .NET, I think you will get saying that .NET is nothing but network enabled technology. It's not the meaning of .NET. .NET doesn't have any official abbreviation. Okay, .NET framework is a revolutionary platform developed by Microsoft. If you look at the 90s era, before .NET, we have a Visual Basic 6.0 and C++. That was 1972 and 1990 era. So these all languages are object-based languages. These all languages are object-based languages and having different compilers. So when it comes to C#.NET, it's a programming language. What is language? So if I want to communicate with you, I should know the language, and the same language you should know. When I speak in English, you can respond to me in the English language, right? When I speak in Kannada, if you're not aware of Kannada, you will not respond back. Similarly, if you want to communicate with a system or a computer, you should need a language, right? So in this case, you are using C#. So language lets developers to write a program to interact with system to fulfill your desired task. If you want to add a number, or if you want to perform a kind of tax calculation kind of task, and you need to tell to the system in the proper manner by using one of the languages called C#. If you look at the market, we have different languages: C#, VB, Python, Ruby, React, Angular. There are so many languages. Each language is having its own unique syntax. Okay, our topic is C#.NET. C# pronouncing as C#, which is coming up with enhanced features of C++, Java. Okay, .NET is nothing but a platform, a revolutionary platform. In the 19th era, we have a Visual Basic, right? In 2000, so .NET was introduced with a beta version. If you look at the market, there are so many innovations, inventions are happening to the technology. If you look at the market, artificial intelligence, there are so many can-do services are there. No need to write a program. Just use the service and you will fulfill your desired task. So technology is grooming. The .NET has captured that particular technology changes and they have come up with .NET framework. So .NET framework again having two words, .NET and framework. So I said .NET is a platform, right, having inbuilt features. What is a platform or what is a framework? Framework is nothing but a structure which got already implemented to build your software. So you'll be having everything readily available. You no need to worry of writing your program from the scratch, right? Framework is nothing but a structure coming up with some built-in features and it is readily available for you to write a software, right? And then developers won't worry about writing a program like blowing of so and so and writing of so and so, etc., etc. You just have it that namespace, or you just have it class, or you just have it property, and you just write your program. Okay, C#.NET is a simple modern application programming language. It is an open source, and you can straight away download .NET framework and you can install it, right? When the .NET framework was started implementing by Microsoft, okay, so in the 2002, the first version it has got released, that is 1.0. Okay, while developing .NET framework, one of the team members in the Microsoft lead one of the separate team, and they started developing C#.NET. The person name is Anderson, Anders Hegelsberg. He is the person, he has taken the challenge or the responsibility to invent this programming language, and which will run only on the .NET framework. Okay, if I say the abbreviation, and again before coming to the C#.NET, so what is the .NET framework? I told you it is an open source framework. It's a revolutionary platform developed by Microsoft, coming up with the different programming languages to develop different applications. Suppose if you want to interact with a Windows application where size monolithic dependency with everything, pulling that from modular the website, right? If the language is supporting OOPS, they can use all these features to minimize the development cost. Okay, OOPS concept minimize the development cost. Now it is okay now. I think something it is very slow. Okay. So the next one is, I think we already discussed about .NET framework overview, like when it was invented and what was the first version, right? We talk about .NET framework. Download that and you can install it because it is coming up with single package. If I get single package, it contains C#, VC++, and F#, and Visual Basic, ASP.NET, MVC. Okay, it is going to run .NET Core on any platform. That is one of the major, for the .NET framework, Microsoft is still giving a support if you have any issues in the .NET framework. Hence, people are using .NET framework. But the latest trend and latest technology in the .NET framework is .NET Core. Okay, so actually, I thought of explaining .NET Core first here before I get into C#.NET because my C#.NET term itself is having .NET. If you guys understand what is .NET, then it is very easy to you understand C# and .NET. That's why I just prepared a PPT to explain about what is a .NET and what is .NET Core. So I'll come from a latest here. So in this session, I'll cover what is .NET Core and what is why .NET Core and the characteristics of .NET Core. If I can explain this stuff, I think you can understand why .NET Core is required nowadays instead of a .NET framework. .NET framework is different, .NET Core is different. .NET framework is the latest version of or enhanced version of .NET framework. Okay, so if I go for next slide here, what is .NET Core? So .NET Core is a new version of .NET framework which is a free open source general purpose development platform maintained by Microsoft. So as I said, it is purely free. Everyone can go to internet and they can download .NET Core and they can install it. But when it comes to .NET framework, only couple of features and couple of packages only free, and remaining things you have to have a subscription from the MSDN. But .NET Core is purely free, and you directly get it to your MSDN site, and you can download that and you can install it because it is coming up with single package. If I get single package, it contains C#, BC++, and F#, and Visual Basic, ASP.NET, MPC, Core. Everything is coming up in a single package in the .NET Core. When I go back to the .NET framework, it's not like that. One minute, I'll tell you. So I better instead of sharing PPT, if you can share desktop, I think it will share screen. So instead of here, desktop, desktop is yeah. Now I think they can see now. Right. Yes. Super. So why .NET Core is? So as I explained, .NET framework is having some dependencies with the operating system because the applications which are built in .NET framework only going to work on Windows operating system. That is one of the limitation. And again, so you need to use different APIs for different window devices such as Windows desktop, Windows Store, Windows Phone, or web applications, etc., etc. That means if you want to develop web application or mobile application, you have to choose different APIs. When it comes to .NET Core, everything is coming up with a single package, which I'm telling you. If you just import that package, you can use that package for all these applications. When it comes to .NET frameworks, you need to use different APIs for each and every kind of application. Okay, so in addition to this, .NET framework is a machine-wide framework, and any changes made to it, it affects all applications taking dependency on it. So if you are changing anything in your one of the, it is going to impact to all applications. Okay, because of these limitations, so we are migrating to .NET Core. Okay, and if you look at here, it's a common to have an application that run across devices. So nowadays, if you are developing a website, so you think that should be running on all devices, but not on only Windows or Ubuntu or Linux or kind of Unix or Android or iOS. So you always think that my application should run on all devices and all operating systems. So that's why it's common to have an application that runs on across devices. A backend on the web server, admin frontend and Windows desktop, web and mobile apps for consumers. So there is a need for a single framework that works everywhere. So considering this, Microsoft created .NET Core. So if you want to develop a front-end application, so we are going to use one package in .NET framework. And if you want to develop back-end application, you are going to use another package in .NET framework. And if you want to use access to the mobile users, and you have to use another package in the .NET framework. So because of having different APIs, different packages, so you need to choose for developing an application .NET framework. It is coming up with single package. Hence, our problem is this is the major problem. When I have application, front end is nothing but UI where you are typing something, right? Back end is nothing but data which you are fetching through APIs, right? And giving an access to mobile users, it should have some responsive design, right? Mobile first approach or responsive design, because my mobile width is different, my desktop width is different, my standalone machine width is different. It depends on the resolution, right? So if I have access to the mobile users also in the same package, that would give a great, kind of exposure for my application. Hence, we are choosing .NET Core. Okay. And coming to the characteristics in .NET Core, right? First characteristics is cross-platform. So again, it's kind of, which is going to run your application on different operating systems. Hence, it is cross-platform. So once you build your application, you can simply publish your application and you can ask your users to run your application on different devices. Okay, so that is nothing but cross-platform. And coming to the next characteristic is modular architecture. As I mentioned, so .NET framework and before Visual Basic is monolithic. You know what is monolithic? Monolithic is nothing but building of application on a single store, on a single page, right? how can I tell? So, do you have idea about cube? So, some kind of game you used to play in your kids' day, like having different colors. You just spin the like a cube and red color, green color, white color kind of cube. What do you say that? Puzzle game. You know the puzzle game? So all colors are built on single dice, a single kind of unit. That is monolithic. You know Legos? Legos. Nowadays, our kids are playing with Legos. Earlier days, we used to play with this kind of single dice. Nowadays, our kids are playing with Legos. Legos is nothing but microservices architecture. They are coming up with small, small pieces independently. They are just taking that and they are building whatever kind of building or car, any item they want, they are going to build it. That is microservice architecture. So .NET framework is monolithic, where you have only kind of some packages where it contains all classes, but complete stuff you are writing in single page, that is a single solution. But again, you have a modular. So there are actually three architectural styles: monolithic, modular, microservice. And now the trend was microservices. So earlier to microservices, we have monolithic and modular. So what is modular? Modularization is nothing but dividing your single page into different modules: UI layer, biz layer, DAL layer, layer architecture. Modularization is nothing but you are just splitting your file into different file, but still you have a dependency. That is more cohesive framework. Still you have a dependency DAL layer, data access layer, which basically connected to your database, right? That layer is depending on the business layer. Business layer is nothing but it is having a business logic which is going to prepare your SQL query, and then it is connected to DAL layer. So it has dependency, and business layer is UI layer. UI layer is nothing but presentation layer where the data is coming up and rendering on the browser. So there is a cohesive architecture that is modularized, and then it is becoming as microservices architecture. So this .NET Core is having kind of modular architecture here. That means you can still divide your files into different layers: 2-layer, 3-layer, N layer, or SOA, service oriented architecture kind of architecture styles you can build using .NET Core. And third one is supports multiple languages. So as I said, you can use C# or F# and Visual Basic. Suppose you are coming up with a basic experience of Visual Basic. So before .NET framework, Visual Basic is the language we generally using it. If you look at the 1960, we have a DBase, FoxPro, Pascal kind of programming language, right? And after that, so Microsoft come up with a Visual Basic and ASP. And other side, the Sun was coming up with the C or C++ Java. So earlier we used to use only one language, right? So earlier we used to use only one language. If you use C, you are going to use compiler as translating language as compiler. If you use Visual Basic, you are going to use translator as interpreter, right? But when it comes to .NET Core, we have only one compiler, that is CLR. Inside of that, we have a JIT compiler, just-in-time compiler. So it supports multiple languages, and it will convert your code into CIL or MSIL, Microsoft Intermediate Language, where the code is going to run in any platform. But earlier to this .NET Core or .NET Framework, this interpreter-based compiler translated language won't run on Unix. It only runs on Windows operating system. Okay, so it supports multiple languages, and you can use your favorite IDE also here. No need of only using Visual Studio. I can use Visual Studio Code, or I can use VIM, which is in Unix, right? Or I can use simple Notepad as well. So I can use any editor. I directly go to there and I can write my program. I'll just say that program as .cs. If it is a C#, .cs. And then I directly come to here in the command prompt and I can run that. But earlier to this, we don't have that feature. That is CLI, command line interface, we don't have in .NET Framework. Okay. And next one is wide range of applications. So various types of applications can be developed and run on .NET Core platforms such as mobile, desktop, web, cloud, IoT, machine learning, and microservices and game. So this was already we explained. So using .NET Core, you can develop variety of applications like mobile, desktop, or web, cloud, IoT, machine learning, microservices, gaming using Unity or runtime engine. So all these applications you can develop using .NET Core. Okay. And the last one, this is what I just told you, you just go into any editor instead of Visual Studio, like, a Visual Studio Coder or Notepad or VIM editor, right? You just write your program and just save it as .cs and you just run using CLI command. We have a .NET command, .NET. It's a command introduced in .NET Core where it contains different commands. Using that command, you can run your application and you can create your application. Just .NET create name of application. .NET run your application. If you want to publish to cloud, you just use .NET publish so and so application. So .NET is a command introduced in .NET Core to use and run from the command line. That is CLI feature. This feature we don't have in the .NET framework. Okay. So if I want to explain in the graphical representation like .NET framework, this is the architecture of .NET framework. This only runs on Windows and it is having interoperability still because it is supporting VB, C#, C++, F#, right? And it is having again CIL, that is nothing but MSIL, Microsoft Intermediate Language. If I write a program in VB or in C# or C++ or F#, I can run all these programs and convert into CIL. That means this is intermediate language which is converting from the JIT compiler so that you will get that code and you will run in any operating system. That means you can integrate into Java also. And again, framework class libraries, FCL, which is coming up with some basic classes. If you want to have a datetime functions, or if you want to write some file operations, or if you want to develop multi-threading. So we have readily available classes in the .NET framework. Like you just import that namespace and just use that method. That's why I told you framework is nothing but a structure is already created and readily available in the .NET framework, and you just start developing your application. That's the .NET framework. That's nothing but .NET framework. So no need of worrying like I want to write a program from the scratch. No need. You just use .NET framework and it has some framework class libraries, right? Some commands and just start your writing program. And again, first version was introduced in February 2002, .NET Framework 1.0. Okay, and coming to the CLR, as I told you, this is the heart of .NET Framework, Common Language Runtime. This is nothing but a compiler which will take your language. So let me tell you, so we are all writing program in high-level language, that means English, right? If you want to write a program, we are writing using ABCD, right? English language. But computer doesn't understand that English language. Computer only understand machine language, bytecode, zeros, ones. So who is going to convert? So in .NET Framework, this is going to convert. So it will take your high-level language and it will convert into MSIL code. And inside of JIT compiler, based on the type of JIT compiler, it is going to convert into bytecode. So that machine can understand and it give you the result. Okay, so again we have a just-in-time compilation, memory management, security, exception handling. All these options we have inside of CLR. So if you want to compile using this, you use just compile. Again, virtual machine. So CLR is nothing but a virtual machine. If you if I want to tell you, if you look at Java, we have a Java virtual machine, JVM. So when it comes to .NET, CLR is a virtual machine. Both are same for me. So when you start running your program, that is going to create a JVM and it is going to inside in JVM, it is going to execute my Java program. Since similar in .NET framework, my program is going to execute inside of CLR by creating virtual machine. Inside of virtual machine, I have all these options. So how to handle security breaches, how to improve performance, or how to manage my memory, like how to allocate a memory for value type variables or reference type variables or structure type variables. All these things are inbuilt inside of memory management. So we have a garbage collector facility. So where it is going to automatically, clean the memory, create the memory, everything it is going to take automatically. But earlier to a .NET framework, we don't have that. If you are using an object, you have to dispose that. But in .NET, it is going to automatically dispose that. That is nothing but garbage collection in the memory management. Again, security breaches. If you are using a external application, interoperability, that's what I'm talking about, interoperability in the .NET. Suppose I want to use a Java DLL some of the Python API into my .NET. So I should have some provision, right? So if I have a security inside of my external API, .NET framework is going to automatically detect that and warn you saying that it is having some security breaches with the help of .NET App Domain. So there is a feature called .NET App Domain. It is inside of memory management. It is a location storage basically. It holds all external libraries. Okay. And again, exception handling. It's nothing but predicting like what is happening with my code. If you are not have a clarity on your program saying that my program is going to execute successfully, or is that program is going to give a problem, then you have to use exception handling using try catch block. So all these features are available in the CLR. So this is the .NET framework architecture in the basic level. It's only running on the Windows. It's having those languages, right? And it is having CIL and FCL. It's having CLR. It's the heart of your .NET framework. When it comes to this .NET Core, this is coming up with like this, right? So it is having different operating systems: Mac OS, Linux, Windows, right? It has optimized for the cloud. So the Microsoft has taken .NET framework as a base. They have optimized my .NET framework to fulfill my scalability, high availability kind of concepts, and they have introduced, high performance and microservices to support cloud integration. Okay, and again it have interoperability languages and again other languages. When it comes to here, modular framework. So what happened is this .NET Core was introduced in 2016. At that time, .NET framework was I think 4.0 or 4.5 something. So why .NET Core was started to pulling that from .NET framework, and they started creating this means it's a huge framework. As I said, .NET framework is not a simple thing. It's a huge framework which containing all this stuff. So when I touch that, definitely I'll get a problem. Hence, I'll take piece by piece. That's the modular framework. I'll take only one concept. Today I'll take WCF, Windows Communication Foundation, and then I'll take WPF, and then I'll take REST service. That way they have taken modular frameworks and they started building core. Again, it having CLR, core CLR. Again, it has a virtual machine. Again, it has improved just-in-time compiler, memory management, security, exception handling, and open source to download and install. Again, when it comes to agile, so what do you mean by agile? So agile is nothing but a project management tool which is going to break down your project and start developing, right? Using sprints and scrum meetings kind of stuff. So they have used the same methodology to develop .NET Core. What they did is they just taken some part of .NET framework and then they started converting. So like that, they have taken some part. That way they have started, converting into .NET framework. Okay. So this is the .NET framework basic architecture. Okay. So as I said, this is the base class library. So if you look at here, I told you there is a class library, right? So these are a couple of examples like what is base class library and what it internally containing. System.web or Windows Forms, drawings, data, XML, and system namespace is having these methodologies. That's why I'm saying, suppose if you want to build it, like if you want to construct a home, so what you are doing is you are digging your ground, right? You are digging your ground till you get hard soil. Till you get hard soil, you are digging into it 6 feet, 5 feet, not sure. And then you are putting your columns, and then you are having some slab inside of that. Then only your platform is very strong. Once that is ready, then you start building your floors. Similarly, .NET framework is coming up with this structure. No need of worrying all this stuff. These are already implemented. Only thing is, if I want to connect to database, I'll use system.data namespace. I'll just using system.data, and then I'll use SQL client for SQL Server, OLEDB for MS Access, and common for other databases and SQL types. All these namespaces are readily available. So no need of worrying like writing or having program knowledge from the scratch. Okay, so these are a couple of base class libraries coming up within .NET framework, and same base class libraries available in the .NET Core. Okay, so this is something .NET Core overall architecture. When Microsoft decides to beautify the .NET framework and add some features to give a competition to the Java or other programming languages in the market. If you look at the market trends, so people are default choosing Angular, React, Vue, kind of stuff they are choosing. If you know .NET framework idea and like how it is working, so people won't go for Angular and React and Vue kind of stuff, because this is coming up with all beautiful features here. This .NET Core is having .NET Framework, .NET Core, Xamarin. Means .NET Core is having backward compatibility for your .NET Framework projects as well. If you are having a project in .NET Framework, don't bother about it if you are migrating .NET Core. .NET Core still having the space. It is still supporting your .NET Framework. And you can use .NET Core features if you want to enhance your application. Let us take an example of like a product-based company. So since they are 20 years, they're having product like healthcare or banking sectors or IRCTC or passport websites. They won't change their websites frequently. They'll change only after 5 years or 10 years kind of stuff. They won't change every year or everything. That's a product, right? Project is different. Product is different. Project may change every year. Product won't change until 15 years or 20 years. Suppose if the product is built using .NET Framework, right? Company has sell that product to clients. Clients are using it. If I go for .NET Core or some other programming language, not .NET Framework, if I go for Java, clients won't accept because they won't bear some such kind of cost, right? If I want to change the technology, there will be huge cost actually development. They won't accept it. So that's why this core is having backward compatibility. You go to .NET Core, I'm very happy because I can sell my product by saying to my users, I was using latest .NET Core. I was using latest features in the .NET Core, right? Because I have a .NET Framework compatibility, my product won't have any impact if you are going with .NET Core. Okay, so instead of that .NET Framework, we have a .NET Standard Library. This is the one umbrella top which is having all features. Okay, so and again common infrastructure, compilers, languages, runtime components all still available, right? If you come to like .NET 5, if you see the .NET architecture, this is something .NET 5 architecture. So before that, I just want to show you the version numbers here. If you look at the version number there, .NET Core 1.0 was introduced in 2016, right? And till here, the term is .NET Core. Till here. So I think every year they have been released one version till 3.1. Because of the core word is confusing .NET Framework or vendors or subscribers, they removed .NET Core, like the core word, and again they rename as .NET 5. No framework, no core. Simple .NET 5, simple .NET 6, simple .NET 7. Now the latest is .NET 7, but we are not going to use this because this is a short-term support. If you see here, these are long-term support. LTS means long-term support. That means at least 2 to 3 years, Microsoft is going to give support. That means if you have a bug in your product, they will support you. They will answer you. They will fix the problem. But when I go for these versions, these are short-term support. Short-term support means 18 months. So till 18 months only they are giving support. So already it was released in 2022, some 11 November. Now almost 7 months, 8 months. And again another 10 months they are giving support. Hence, we are not preferring this. Still we are working on .NET 6 only. This is stable version. And this is again LTS, .NET 8. This is not released yet. May it come in this year, November. Once it is released, we are going with this particular thing. So I'm just only explaining this to understand the history, right? What is .NET and what is .NET Core? Because if you understand what is .NET and what is .NET Core, then we directly jump into language. So instead of having all these knowledges, if you directly jump into C#, I'll tell you like what is C# and why we use C# and components of C#. But when I ask the history of C#, so like from where it started, who was invented, what was the latest first version, kind of stuff, I think that will not easy for you to understand or answer the questions for you when someone asks you. That's why I'm just going to explain what is .NET and what is .NET Core, right? So after that we'll get into C#.NET. Okay, so far any doubts? Any doubts in .NET Framework or .NET Core? All clear? Feel free to ask me, no problem. I'm like as you. Yeah. APIs, Application Programming Interface. It's kind of a provision in the .NET Framework to talk to your systems. API is different, service is different. Like web service is different, API is different. API is nothing but communicating between two programs. Let us say I have a program and you have a program. If you want to communicate you to my program, you have to use API. But both are running in Windows operating system or web servers or any operating system. But if I want to access your program on internet, you have to use web service. Web service is running on internet. API may run on internet, but it basically runs in the Windows. It is interacting between two programs. Okay. Sure. Xamarin. It's another kind of framework in .NET to build iOS and Android applications with the TypeScript. That is different framework, right? There is that. This one you are talking about, right? This is purely different. iOS, OS X, Android. This is TypeScripting. That is different language basically. Language will be C# only. Or if you want to choose Visual Basic, you can choose. But this is differently a separate framework. If you are only concentrating on developing mobile applications, you have to learn Xamarin, right? Where you have a TypeScript where you can start writing off all this stuff. Again, TypeScript is similar to C#. If you learn C#, all other languages are also very easy to learn, because if you look at Angular or React.js or Vue, other than Python, all these languages syntax is similar to C#. So starting with curly braces, having case sensitive and giving a space, all this stuff is same. Okay, only Python is somewhat different because it's a Python is having different syntax. Which one? What is architecture? So I said framework, right? It's a kind of built-in structure. Architecture also having some kind of inbuilt framework tools, readily available patterns. If you look at singleton class or single call class, singleton, single call, these are the design patterns. These are already having some inbuilt features. You just use that. If you look at singleton class, it is going to create only one time, one instance, and across your application you can use same instance. No need to create a number of instances for my class if it is a singleton. Okay, so this architecture is having some inbuilt features based on the market trend and technology growth, and based on your requirement you can use like what kind of design pattern or an architecture. So I said microservice is a kind of architectural style. It is having some inbuilt features there, where API gateway, circuit breakthrough, versioning, throttling. So there are some concepts are coming up with inbuilt. You just use those applications. So basically, architecture is nothing but dividing like kind of parts and putting some features and giving to you to integrate, like modular and monolithic or microservices. Monolithic, I said, it doesn't have any architecture, so everything you are building on single application. I said Fox Pro, DBase, C language. So if you want to start an application, you have to write in the same file .c, .vb, .fx. So we don't have multiple layers there. That is one architecture. And modularized architecture. So we have a modular architecture, means we have a different files there provision. You can create different files there and you can use it. Microservices means it's entirely different, platform independent. You can use different languages and you can use into .NET framework. Because microservice I can develop in .NET or in Python or in React.js or in Java, but I can use all these microservices to my .NET. Okay. Which one? Yes, but it has some features like performance and scalability. Those are not exposed to UI, right? When I talk about security, performance, scalability, these are non-functional things. Those won't appear on UI. Those are running in the background. So these things are changed in the .NET 5, 6, 7. Yes, yes. You're not. Okay. So no doubts. Sure. Huh? You're asking something. I better I switch off my fan, I think. Wedding noise. Huh? Switch off. No problem. Okay. Yes, please. Which one is having more opportunities? Okay. .NET is having more opportunities. Why? Because .NET is having more CUI and GUI features. Suppose if you want to develop an application, when it comes to Java, everything you have to write it. If you are fully aware of C++ or C, then only you choose Java. But I don't have any computer background, but still I can choose .NET to develop a website because it is coming up with GUI features, CLI commands. So they are coming up with intelligence features, right? When I put a dot here, there, it is going to give all the features inside of like in when as I told you here. So the base class library, right? When I put some dot, like here, SQL client dot. When I say SQL client dot, it is going to give you data set, like data reader, data table, all this stuff it is giving. When it goes to Java, if you are fully aware of what actually contains inside of SQL client, then only you are right program. So this is very easy to write a program. When it comes to opportunities, it is having a huge support by Microsoft. Nowadays, Microsoft is coming up with different kind of features in Azure cloud. If you compare to before 5 years, AWS cloud is the kind of popular cloud technology. But nowadays, Azure is the popular technology because it is coming up with different features, especially AI, cognitive services, IoT technologies, machine learning. So Azure was introducing all this stuff. It is up to date based on the market. That's why I told you in the starting, as new innovations and inventions are happening to technology growth, this Microsoft has captured the kind of opportunity, and they have started implementing all this stuff in the Azure cloud. So opportunities are, I won't say like Java is less and Microsoft is like .NET is very high, but .NET is definitely having more opportunities parallel to Java. It all depends on the company, like how they are choosing a technology, right? But one thing I pretty much surely tell that, so if you are like, if you doesn't have a computer background also, you can choose .NET. You can choose .NET and you can directly start and, write a program. Still any questions? Okay. So when coming back to our original topic, C#.NET. So as I said a kind of simple and modern programming language. Also, it is supporting object-oriented concepts, right? C# is purely object-oriented concept. When it comes to Visual Basic or VB, it's object-based. Object-based and object-oriented. The difference is still you can create a class, still you can have an object instance for the class. But when it comes to object-oriented, we have a different features like inheritance, encapsulation, polymorphism. So these are the concepts coming up in the object-oriented programming concepts. So C# is object-oriented programming language coming up with OOPS concept. So what is the purpose of object-oriented programming language? So if your language is supporting OOPS concept, right, it is very easy for reusing your code. It is going to enable a feature called reusing, using polymorphism. Let us say like I have a method, like kind of addition. I can use same method for adding two strings, adding two numbers, adding float values kind of stuff. And also I can create a class in the one class, right? If I want to use same method in different class, I just inherit the class into my new class so that I can use directly that class method, right? No need of again writing same method in the second class. That is reusability. So if our language is supporting reusability, it is minimizing the development cost. So when you have a team like having a skill set like a minimal skill set, they doesn't have a kind of a full stack skill set. And if you want to write a program or create a website, right? If the language is supporting OOPS, they can use all these features to minimize the development cost. Okay. OOPS concept minimize the development cost. Okay. So as I mentioned, this was invented by Microsoft, like led by Anders Hegelsberg, right? So this was designed such a way it is only running on .NET framework. C# was invented by this ex-person, right? This was designed to run on only .NET framework because introduced by Microsoft, you definitely have a .NET framework, right? So it is designed such a way to run on .NET framework. Okay. So why we use C#? One thing is object-oriented programming concepts. Second thing is it is more popular programming language in the world. Why? Because it is having Microsoft support. So Microsoft is a big tech company, right? So it is always releasing different features in the .NET framework. Definitely everyone is attracting with that Microsoft. So it is having a big tech company support. Definitely it is becoming a more popular programming language. If you learn C# and it is easy for you to learn other programming languages, 75% of the programs. Okay. So why we choose a C# means first thing is it is supporting OOPS concept. Second thing is it is more popular because it's having Microsoft support. Third one is C# is having automatic garbage collection. So as I told you, memory management, right? So it is going to dispose or clean your objects in the program once the program execution is done. So I think when you start running your program, the memory will be divided into heap and stack. So stack memory only having value type variable storage. Heap memory is having a reference type. Suppose if you define as student ID, it is integer type, that variable will be stored in the stack memory. If I define a structure kind of stuff, right? Or a string that is a reference type for me, that is storing in the heap. So basically memory will be divided to stack and heap, right? So when I initialize a variable, memory is created 5. After I close the application or after I shut down my application, who is going to clear or dispose that memory? If you look at earlier programming languages, programs should have a dispose mechanism. Otherwise, it will throw you saying that runtime exception or memory out of exception, because already it is full of variable declarations in the memory, but you are not clearing in the programming language, then it is throwing a runtime exception. But now in the C sharp, we have automatic garbage collected. So it is having garbage collected, right? And again, other thing we have, it supports generics. So what is generics? So generally generics is nothing but, so you can convert or you can define your variable. Let us say like if you are going to declare a class which is holding student ID or student name. So I don't want to define student ID as integer, because if I define that variable as integer, that always store or expect integer value. But I don't want to be defined that as an integer, but at runtime I want to change that to different data type during compilation, right? So there are actually two modes. One is compile time or runtime. Compile time means when you are executing your program, it is going to alert the compiler to pick that program and compile the program and convert it into bytecode. Runtime means it will take that bytecode and it will render your response, right? So when I declare a student ID, definitely ID means integer. So default developer is going to define that ID as integer. But sometimes I want to use same variable for other value like float value, like some average or some marks or some tax value, some other purpose I want to use same variable. If I define that variable as generic, at runtime I can change the data type to required data type. So it supports generic, right? So, and again it supports events, procedures, and it supports versioning, it supports assemblies. So there are a lot of features we have in C sharp. So because of having these many features, we are preferring C sharp as the prime language for communicating to our website, right? Even if you are learning ASP.NET, you must have a language experience, whether it may be C sharp or VB, because you are writing all the code in the language. But here ASP.NET only defined for creating a websites with markup language. If you want to connect your markup language, you have a language, right? That language might be a C sharp or VB.NET or F sharp. But here in this case, C sharp is having more features. That's why people are preferring C sharp. Okay. Okay. So next one is, I think we already discussed about .NET framework overview, like when it was invented and what was the first version, right? We talk about .NET framework, right? So .NET framework is a revolutionary framework developed by Microsoft. So it is using it for, sorry, my keyboard is very hard. That's why I'm just taking more time. Screen also not sharing. Oh, sorry. What is, Oh, this is different. Okay, okay. I'm just confusing with the PPT. Okay. So when it comes to .NET Framework overview, so as I said, this is a revolutionary framework developed by Microsoft. It is using it for developing below applications. Like I'll tell you, first is web, and then Windows, and then I'll tell you third one is console. I think this was not covered in PPT. And another thing is mobile, and this is microservices, and 6 is games. So I think web and Windows, mobile, microservices, games. So already we have covered. What is console? So console is nothing but it's kind of a CLI interface where you just write a program and execute it command line. It doesn't have any UI. So console is nothing but this is console. Screen which is showing in the desktop, right? This is the console. So wherever you are seeing input and output, that is a console. If you want to create a, like, I think if you look at C program, so it is console based language, right? So it is going to ask you some inputs from the console, and it is going to display the same response in the console. From the command prompt, you are going to execute and see the response. That is console. Basically, this console application, we use it for transferring data from one system to another system, or getting data, fetching data from third-party source and showing on the console kind of stuff. Okay, and mobile, again, it's Xamarin, microservices, and games. Again, C# basically using it for games to interact with the Unity render engine in the games. So basically, to develop a game application, we need to have a Unity framework. So Unity is a render engine of gaming applications. So C# is the better language to talk to the Unity framework. Okay. So I think the first version of .NET framework is 1.0 and 2002. The similar way, the first version of C# or the same version. Because in the .NET framework itself, C#.NET has been implemented, is 1.0, right? The latest version of C# is 12 version, but that was in the .NET 8. But 8 is not yet released, 7 is released, that is 11 of C#. So the latest version is 10, that is the stable version. The latest version of C# is 10 version. This is the stable version. But when it comes to history of .NET framework, latest is 11 version. But that is a short-term support, what I'm talking about, so STS support. So we are not preferring because it doesn't have, long-run support from Microsoft. It is only having 18-month support. Okay. Again, come to C# components. So couple of components I can tell you, CLR, CLS, and BCL, right? FCL, right? Just-in-time compiler, right? Namespace, class, generics, exception handling, memory management. So a couple of components basically inside of C#. So of course, VB.NET also supporting same components, but here these are the major components. CLR is the heart of your language, where it converts your high-level language into machine language. CLS is nothing but common language specifications. Suppose today I'm very much interested to write a program in C#. Tomorrow I want to migrate my C# into VB.NET or F#, right? So the CL is supporting a common language specifications, right? Using that CLS, it is easily migrating your C#.NET application to VB.NET. And same time, BCL and FCL, right? Base class library, framework class library. So these are inbuilt class libraries coming up within .NET framework, as I shown you the diagram, like kind of namespace and functions inside of it. You just using that and using in your program. And namespace. A namespace is nothing but a container where it contains classes, right? Suppose you have a files and you want to put those files in different folders or different racks. So my files may contain educational or financial or some house or some shop. There are different documents I have it. If I keep everything in a single cupboard or single rack, I may get confused every time when I refer that. If I put them in different files or folders, it is very easy for me to understand. I'll directly go and pick up that relevant file. Similarly, in the C sharp, right? If you want to create different classes, namespace is the container, right? So you can create namespace first. Let us say like class namespace student, and inside of that namespace you create class of your student and declare your properties and methods. Okay, we'll see all these now in the coming sessions in the program. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to explain about namespace is it is a container which contains all classes. So even you can create nested namespace also instead of your namespace, right? Because in my student namespace, I have marks, I have a fees details, right? So different namespaces I can create inside of my main namespace. Okay, so only thing is if you want to access that namespace, you need to use a period symbol, dot symbol. Namespace name dot and class name dot, so X method. Using dot period, a period kind of operator, you access whatever namespace method or class from anywhere. Okay, and again class, again as I told you, is a kind of mixing of methods and properties where you define all your procedures and properties like variables. Let us say like I have a class which basically requires student ID and name, marks kind of variables. I'll declare them as a properties, and then I'm going to have a methods to identify the attendance report or getting of fees reports, all this. So I'm going to write methods, right? All these things can be written in the class. And again, generics, as I told you, generics type is a kind of universal data type where you can declare your variable as generic. That means at runtime you can change your data type. Instead of integer or string or float, if I declare generic, I can change it in runtime. Okay, and again exception handling. So if you are suspecting that your program may work properly or it may give a problem in the production or UAT environment, you just put try catch block and you copy your code inside of try catch block so that it will catch your exception, right? It won't stop your application. It just put the exception to some file. It will continue the process. But if you're not implementing exception handling, your application will stop and it will disconnect the application from the user point of view by seeing the response. So exception handling is must for every programmer. And again, memory management, as I told you, it is supporting garbage collector where it is going to pick up your variable declarations. Again, it has generation 0 level, level 1, level 2. So basically, this garbage collector, what it is doing is it is marking your variables and saying 0, 1, 2. Basically, we have 3 levels: 0, generation 0, 1, 2, right? It will mark that number, and then based on the rank order, it is going to delete that object from the memory. That how it is managing memory for the new variables which is coming up in the next screen or next program. It's going to automatically allocate the memory. Okay, so these are a couple of components we have in C sharp, right? So because of these all features, this is more popular and becoming nowadays, it is one of the most popular programming languages in the world, right? So even if you are not aware of or having any background knowledge of programming language, no need of worrying like how to write a program, because .NET is already coming up with built-in structure, having built-in features. You just start the requirement. So whatever requirement you have, you just start implementing that by using namespaces or class libraries and CLS and CTS types. Okay. So any doubts in this so far? I think I've taken much time on introduction part basically. I thought of actually going with C#.NET, but not on .NET Core, because when I say C#.NET, the word itself is having .NET. First of all, we should understand what is .NET. So what was the latest version? Why we are moving to .NET Core? Why we don't have having using .NET framework? So we should understand and have those concepts basically. Okay, so once you have a clarity on those concepts, like why we are in .NET framework and why we are not in .NET framework core, because if you are supporting or if you are thinking that your application should be run on cross-platform, right? Definitely go with .NET core. But you're just thinking that only my application should run on Windows OS. No need of going with .NET core. Just going with .NET framework. Okay. Okay, I'm just wrapping up the session here, and we'll continue tomorrow. Okay. So for any doubts, please ask me. So basically, one thing is for the developer, you don't write everything in a single file. That is very difficult for you to debug. You split that into different files. As I said, you split your project into layers. Okay, so you have to split that program. So as per the industry standard, I think 1,000 lines are the maximum limit for every file. .cs. If it is beyond that 1,000 lines, you have to create separate file. That's it. No. You should not keep writing complete stuff in single file. That is very difficult for you when you debug it, or when you change anything in that. Definitely, you will have a problem, like, because it is going to give more impacts to you, other stuff, parts of code inside of same file. So you have to split that. And second thing is you have to do frequent practice, so that you will have a kind of a mechanism how to debug, how to get into that, and how to analyze that. We have a lot of options in diagnostic options in .NET, where you can see like where the problem is coming out, so how to fix that. And even we have so many tools in .NET Core, basically code analysis tools. It will tell you, like, if you are defining a variable, it will tell you or alert you this is not in the standard process. So we have naming conventions: Hungarian, Camel, Pascal, Snake. It will alert you, like, no, you're going with so and so approach or naming convention, but it is not better to you, so change it to Pascal notation. So all these comes up to you when you go to lab and practice on different programs. That is second. First thing is, don't put everything in a single file. That is more embarrassing. Even if you come to me and taking that program, and if you show me that, I'll definitely surprise and embracing it, because same code should not be in single file. You should split it. That is what architecture. You should split that, and you should keep that. That's what you have to teach them, or they have to learn from you. Yeah, welcome. Yep. Yes, please. If you have any doubts. That's what I'm saying. So no need of not require any computer background, like language background. So it is having a inbuilt framework, a structure. You just directly jump into that. Just use that library and you just jump into it. Yes. నేను అందుకే that's what I'm saying. Background లేకపోయినా కూడా you can learn, no problem. So going on, మీకే అర్థమవుతుంది. So when you just coming regularly and having practice the lab, definitely understand. That's what I'm saying. Yes.